Alright guys, Evan Aldo here. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content. Let's get right into it. Some huge things, huge updates that we want to talk about. Bitcoin currently trying to break through 115, 116, that area, rejecting right now in this market open. I'm not too worried. I think generally things still look okay ultimately. And even if Bitcoin's already topped out from the October 10th, October 11th, I think, that Ethereum can make a new all-time high come, mid-November. That's what we're really looking at here. I'm also in a ETH swing along. Market's been a little bit boring, getting a little bit exciting, but we want to get those breaks upward. I mean, holding, these points for kind of where we are right now, 4,000 and 113, 112 for Bitcoin is really going to be really good here. And I think we should be able to do that. You got Powell speaking official end to QT. All we know from the last time that happened is that it's around the time where Ethereum bottomed out against Bitcoin in the last Fourier cycle, but I think it still was a month after that happened that it bottomed. So, I mean, I don't know if you can really take, be black and white with what the Fed does. You could kind of use it as a guide like anything else, but I still think, what I look at on the charts and, what I think will happen here is kind of the biggest thing, based on the TA. So let's get into that, guys. And if you guys are interested in trading, I'm over on BYDFI for this one. We got the Discord, a lot of good swing trades, a lot of good opportunities for the next few months, I think. If you guys are interested, check out the link to the Discord if you want one free month in the Discord, or if you're interested in trading, you get some nice bonuses. BYDFI deposit, you get deposit 20K, get 2K back, ends November 1st. And 20% of your fees for life. In addition, 20% of your fees for life for BloFin. There's a deposit bonus there as well. Remember, if you deposit at least $100 on either of these exchanges and open a support ticket with your UID, I'll give you one free month in the Aldo Empire VIP Discord. So just do so and check it out down below if you're interested. Anyway, getting into Bitcoin trigger wave right here, 5-day. Rare bullish sign. I mean, the last time you had a real tight trigger wave right there was back here. And I mean, you would hope for at least a jump like this, at least a situation like that. And that would bring you well on your way up to 140K. I think a lot of us would be happy with that. That confirms in 4 days. I think it will confirm unless Powell really dumps us hard or does something kind of unexpected. Big place to break through right here is going to be 116. I'm not seeing any reason why we shouldn't be able to break up to that and then get to, I mean, you could hit a new all-time high by end of month, but maybe that's a little bit too optimistic. But mid-November is the big place I would be looking for. And I think the thing too with this like blood diamond on the 6th day that confirmed, I know some people may be a little bit concerned about that. I think that's kind of foreshadowing what will happen after we peak out in a month or two or something. Or what'll foreshadow what's foreshadowing what may happen after the Fed stops cutting rates, which would likely be in January. The last time they stopped cutting rates was January of this year. Look what happened, you fell off a cliff. So I think it's gearing up pretty similar to that type of situation. The same thing here. 24, you came up at the end, quarter four. It was into March of 24, and then you kind of fell off, choppy year. And then into the end of it, you had a choppy first half of the year, I should say, or choppy through first 3 quarters. And then fourth quarter was just incredible. And then, then you kind of fell off a bit. So I think you're still in that pattern. And I think the next time, you really fall off, it's going to be more catastrophic, like your typical, maybe 70% correction, something of that nature. But, let's not get too, ahead of ourselves. Just yet, but let's say it's 140 and then you come down, 65 would be 48. I mean, I guess it could come down lower to like 40K, 70% correction. I mean, last time people would say, it was 75%, but factoring inflation, it really was about 80. So if it's a little bit better than that, 75. So, I mean, things can go down a lot. I'm not saying they will, but they can. So we'll see what happens. And ultimately on some of these lower time frames, we talked about it. I think you can break above here into Powell's speech and into the end of this month, early next month. Now, if we get on to Ethereum here, the thing that remains the place to, and I keep reiterating this in every video because it's important in my opinion. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be funny if it's just a completely, once this confirms, it just goes upward. It's not the sell signal, but the next red dot here to print and get close to confirming or confirm or actually confirm, would be the place to get out, in my opinion. But on the bright side, right now, trigger wave on the 4-day is right here. And last time we had that nice jump here, and then he fell off a cliff. So, let's hope for a repeat of this. Nice jump, at least 5,000. You could continue into November, December, or whatever. But let's focus on that 5,000 first. You know what I mean? Let's get to that point. But yeah, I mean, I think you got a good shot into the end of this year or whatever. Potentially hitting. That's June right there. Somewhere between 58 to 7,300. I'd say 7,300. So, the kind of the best case scenario here. 58 will take. You know what I mean? I think you're in the later stages of this bull run, but you got a little bit left in you. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing I want to talk about too is let's talk about some alts. Let's just talk about, because you're sitting and watching history before you, where alts went parabolic against Bitcoin here in 2021. I wonder why. Maybe it was printing a bunch of money and Elon Musk with Doge and all that. But the same thing happened back here in October of 2017 after you had a pretty bad wick downward and you had a big kind of jump upward. So if you were to do that, that would be pretty crazy. However, that's 200% for your average all outperforming Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, although this could be the first time where, it doesn't get that quite high here. So, we'll absolutely have to see what happens. I don't even think this chart looks as good as I would want it to look, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It looks good here, but it's, it just keeps lagging. Nothing too much is really happening here. Same point of April 24. So, yeah, not too much happening there. But others versus Bitcoin, trigger wave on the weekly, that big point back here, it's the same one I was talking about in 2017. So, can you do this? I think it's doable. If you want to get really crazy, I mean, take away that wick, then you're on a new all-time high against Bitcoin, which would just, everyone gave up on altcoin season, then it just comes back and smacks you right in the face. But we'll see. We'll absolutely have to see here. Blood diamond galore there. You'd obviously argue that's played out, and now you could be on your way. Let's look at some alts people have talked about, or people like to generally talk about. I'm going to look at some of their ETH valuations, because at this point, I think you're kind of, the decision really isn't to buy the alt, or the decision whether to buy the alt is whether you can outperform Ethereum into the end of this year. Solana may have hit a bottom against Ethereum, big place. I would hope that you get more trigger waves or such. It does still look a little shaky. I don't know if I still think you get up to 300 or 400 here. I think you got some potential, but I don't know if you're gonna really do as much as we want, much as we would hope this could do. You know what I mean? I hope this would do, I should say. 260 potentially up to 400 by end of year. 400 would be my high. Hopefully 300. We'll take 300. I mean, it's a 30% jump. ETH going up to, if you get a 30% jump for Ethereum, that would still be 30% would be low 5. So I think it would kind of follow Ethereum. I don't know if Sol will really steal the show here. SWI is one that could do a little bit better against ETH. Big point right here on SWI. That's a potential for a double if you can get close to those all-time highs, or maybe even make a new all-time high. So I do think SWI's got some potential. And if we look at it against Ethereum, it's just falling off a cliff. But bull div on your 4-day, that money flow is not as good as you'd want it, but maybe we'll get some relief here. Be careful though. But based on, if you think those alt charts could show a little bit of strength here, you may have something. Crypto.com is pumping a little bit for some reason. Some volatility here. Maybe it wants to get up to 19 cents. Maybe it's trying to break upward and get up to those really high points. I want to look at Bitcoin dominance briefly here. And this had a big jump up. And then right there, maybe, just maybe, this one's been tough, but maybe, just maybe, the bear things will play out and bring this down, that trigger wave for me on the 4-day. But this one's been a little bit tough to read. Now it's coming up, so we'll see. I mean, Bitcoin's kind of leading the way a little bit. Bitcoin and ETH are kind of leading the way, but maybe some alts could show some strength. Couple other ones I like. Chainlink, big point right here. You've just consistently made higher lows, and also probably been pretty damn boring here. But trigger wave, and that's 6-day, potentially coming up to $36 into the year, maybe even 52 for a new all-time high. And yeah, right there, Link versus ETH. Hopefully you would get a jump, but man, some of these under ETH valuations have not been the strongest. So take it as you will. I think ETH is kind of the safest bet right now, but we shall see what happens. I think a few alts could do a 2 or 3x though. And you know, triple Q, this is interesting. You know, it's hitting a fib level right now. That's 630. Maybe it's time to come back down, or maybe, just maybe, you get your last little jump before the tax season sell-off or whatever. I'm trying to do another. This thing just only goes up, man. It is a wild freaking. I'm trying to find a place we could, you know, look at, you know, from there to there. 650. I mean, can you get to, if we just follow this general trajectory, where would that lead you to? January, when the Fed stops cutting rates, most likely. That would be your high there. Maybe 650 could be your high. And that would be the place where this starts to, you know, potentially come back down for a typical kind of bear market year. I mean, it's high, man. This is high, you know. This is the point where, you know, that bear div, wait till that plays out, get in on the next, like, trigger wave or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, this is a good trigger wave right here. What a perfect, you know, perfect situation here with the NASDAQ, up 22%. You know, it's double what the S&P 500 it gives on average a year. You know, here's the time to look and think. You know, you get some type of drop down. You know what I mean? Probably won't be as bad as 2022. I would argue maybe half of that or something. Yeah, maybe more like that. You know, into like later 2026. I don't know about 4. Yeah, I mean that where you were this year. You probably won't go back to that low anytime soon or ever. But well, I wouldn't say ever, but yeah, 20-30% correction, I would guess. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Check out the exchanges down below. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment down below. Goodbye.